playing out into the price action I was looking for. It just, what happened was, this is what I wanted price to do. See, when you have this type of price action, when you have these series of higher highs inside of a flag, that's what's going to indicate a bearish flag, right? If we take that away, and when I close the limit, this is what we had. Let me just switch this up. That's what's going to indicate a bearish price flag right here. That was pretty, maybe missed it by a candlestick or two, but this is basically exactly where I closed the limit. Right. This is where I looked at this price action. I was like, this looks like a pennant. This isn't really the bull flag I was looking for. Right. This looks more like a pendant. And I was really anticipating this to potentially break and with a lot more bullish volume. And instead of just picking up our order ever so perfectly, it's more like a pennant, giving me the price action I was looking for. And I was expecting this to go like this. I was really anticipating this to that obviously did not happen, and I'm not too happy about that. With a lot more bullish volume, and instead of just picking up our order ever so perfectly, it's more like a pennant, giving me the price action. It really sucks when this happens too, because this was an entry that I have probably been updating you guys and posting in the chat and waiting for 4 or 5 days. So it just sucks to wait so long for an entry, and then you have your order stacked in, and then you pull out of it, and only for it to pick up your order ever so perfectly and hit into profit so perfectly. That sucks. But again, not going to complain in it. That's trading. It's just part of it. It really, really is. So I know that's probably happened to a lot of you guys before. You either get into a trade and it pulls against you, and you're like, oh, I'm closing it. And then it turns around and goes right into profit. I'm sure that's happened to you guys before. Or you're moving your stop loss into break even too quickly, or setting up a trade on your chart, and then somebody in the chat tells you, "Hey, I'm going long," and you're like, "Oh shit, I thought I was going to go short. Maybe I shouldn't go short," and then it goes perfectly to your projected take profit. Oh man, oh man, oh man, that shit is so annoying. All right, on to Bitcoin. Who here I'd rather miss. Ken says I'd rather a miss than a loss. I don't know. Sometimes for me, in all honesty, if we didn't have this group, I would probably prefer the loss than lifting a trade. But it's tough. It's hard. Like the thing is, like obviously, we've been trading a lot longer than you guys. But a core component of this is not only do we have to manage, our emotions in trading, but we have to manage 600 people's emotions in trading, and that can be really hard, right? If something changes on the chart and it reduces um my likelihood of probability, you know, then I pulled the trade, you know. And it's tough. It's just something that I definitely feel responsible for people's trades, especially, when a stop loss gets hit and some folks are up in arms about it. And we want to reduce that as much as possible. So it can be tough. All righty. You guys are talking about stop losses, all good there. All right, so let's see if I can pull. No. This is kind of what I was looking for. We did get price. Price did come up here. This is right where it rejected from. And then we pretty much just dropped straight in. Or actually, sorry. Whoops. Price is sitting right down here. Dropped into here. Did people get? I know Nico's alert wasn't. I don't think it was an actual signal, was it? I don't know if anyone got in on that.
Um, I got in at 69, 150. I'm actually doing good right now. I got like 250%. It was
That's
just
awesome.
letting it ride.
That's great. I am going to look for a retest up here. Obviously, we have a lot of support right at this structure. This is something too. This is a good indication as well, guys. If I always see people in the chat, oh, is it too late to get in? Is it too late to get in? You really never want to be getting in anything here. Like if you are in a short, if you see a short and you look to the left and you see you're at a major piece of supply zone structure that was previously broken and retested, it's very obvious that this is a supply zone. You never want to get short here. That's a terrible idea. Never, ever, 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 ever. It's not going to play out in your favor. I mean, it might one times out of 10, but the likelihood of you getting to these levels and trying to grab a short here 9 times out of 10, you're just going to get stopped out on this pullback. Right. So what you're far, far, far better off doing is waiting for a pullback retest. All right. So let's say we trend back upwards a little bit. You could look for shorts up here. Never look for shorts down here. Terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Does that make sense to everybody?
Could you go for a long position at this point?
No, no, hell no. Some people might. I don't. I don't chase trades, man. I don't trade like that. I mean, some people might look at this and be like, "Oh man, I'm gonna go long and I'm gonna trade it back up to this retest. Then I'm gonna go short." And I mean, I don't do that. No, primarily because let's say you go long here and price wick fills back in. Let me clear this off. Let's just set this up. And this is just what happens to folks when they start chasing trades. And you have to make not only do you have to make so many decisions, but you're just taking trades in like unprobabilities and low probability setups. Like if, let's say you're trying to scalp this back up, right? You're like, all right, I'm going long. I got some wicks right here. I'm gonna just get my stop loss right underneath these wicks, right? It gives me a 1 to 5. Let's see it. Let's see if I target can get to 1 to 3. If I try to get 1 to 3, I'm still my stop loss still isn't even below structure. Right. And you're like, all right, let's just run a tight stop. And then you get long, price comes back, wick fills down, comes retest structure, you got stopped out. Like, I don't know. I just don't think it's a very enjoyable way to trade. I think you're far better off just waiting to trade with the overall higher time frame structure, which is definitely short. So that's what I do personally. And I also just take a lot less trades because of that, which I prefer. So something like this. This would be a decent intraday trade. Just wait for price to come pull back. Nine times out of 10, price pulls back. 9 times out of 10. It doesn't matter if it's long or short. You should always, 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 always be waiting for that pullback. is a good example of it. Let's go back. Say you don't have that data there. Price breaks structure, retests it, pushes to the upside. I mean, think about how many people. All right, this is the 1 hour candle. So, but let's go down to the 15-minute. Think about how many people are chasing this candlestick. All right, pull this out. Okay, this purple line is your daily time frame trend line right here. This purple trend line is your daily time frame trend line. Okay. So it's very significant. It's a very, very important trend line. Think about how many people are chasing these freaking candlesticks. Like, oh shit, we took out our highs. We're breaking structure. We're at our date. We're breaking out of the daily chart right now. Holy shit, I'm going long. This is the retest. All right, you probably would have, if you chase this, you're getting stopped out like 6 times every 6 ways to Sunday. And then obviously price comes down into finish that full pullback. Point being, when you for real to trade the real moves, right? To trade the full real moves, like you got time. Like this short, I know there's people probably right now, like there's probably people right now like, oh my gosh, it's gonna leave without me. Like you got time. You pretty much always have time. The problem is, and I feel like I beat this freaking horse into the ground until it's just pulverized. Is when you're chasing these 5 minute and time 5 minute charts, 15-minute charts. I mean, you even saw someone in the chat yesterday, like, oh my God, Bitcoin is pumping. It's like, no, not really. This like if you're chasing these candlesticks, man, on these, you're gonna get screwed. You are gonna get screwed if if this is all you're looking at. Right? You're just looking at this, you're like pumping or breaking out to 75K, you're gonna get screwed. You gotta go into your 4 hour time frames and look at structure.
I think
Because this
that's my
shit,
favorite message. The Bitcoin's pumping on the 1 minute. That gets me so excited.
yeah, it's never it's killing you. It's killing some of you guys because not only like is it gonna get you into bad trades, but it's just sorry for the ladies and excuse my French for the ladies in the room. It's just fucking up your emotions. Like this stuff, like if you are looking at these and you get all riled up because you see a green candlestick on the 10-minute chart, you're gonna get screwed. Really, like look, there's no reason to be looking for longs up here, right? We had to break a structure. And this was obviously a bullish trend. We had a low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high. We broke that upward trend line, which is very, very indicative of what we would consider a change of character. We're moving, we're transition. When you get a trend line break like this, you're moving from a bullish trend to a bearish trend. And you can start to anticipate a corrective phase, which is exactly what we see playing out. But if you don't know this is here, if you're not even looking at these time frames to see that we had a major break of bullish character, and you're on the 5 minute chart chasing these candlesticks, freaking out, like, and I don't mean I'm being dramatic. I don't mean you're actually freaking out, but you're like, oh my gosh, but Bitcoin's pumping. It's like that's just retesting previous highs. You don't want to go chase into this shit long. I promise you that. So that's my soapbox. Luke says me. Yeah, Luke, you are one of them. You are one of them, Luke. That's funny. Oh man. All right,
It's
let's go
like
take a
it's like the boy crying wolf anymore. I'm just at the point where like I won't even look at the chart. I don't even care what they said.
I know, I know. This was nuts. On I didn't get into A, but gosh, I wish I would have after seeing that 6,000 freaking percent trade. That's insanity.
I didn't even look at that coin because he was saying it was a short scalp. And then Alex went in there and actually looked at it and made that. Yeah, I felt so stupid the next morning for not even looking at the chart.
I know I didn't look at it either. But you do have a bit of a left shoulder ahead and a right shoulder. But yeah, that's rowdy. Holy shit. And then was it Steve or John that shorted it back? Somebody shorted it back down for like 300%. I saw.
Right.
That's awesome, man. Let's take a look at the higher time frame. Oh, wow.
Now, ape was one of the unicorn coins. That coin made it to $1 billion market cap near the peak of the 2024 season. So the chances of that returning are pretty good, I think.
Yeah, that's impressive. You almost got like a bit of a trend line break here ish.
You wouldn't take it off the very top.
No, hell no.
Right on.
You could get long off of a retest, pullback retest. You got some structure right here. That'd be the only place I'd want to touch it. Or at the trend line if we retested this trend line. But that would bring it for us to retest this trend line, and then we would be really all the way back down to where this move broke out of.
Vegas says, happy to offer y'all that short scalp call.
What was it? This
Ape, it
oh,
was this coin. He's
this.
ended up not being a short, obviously.
Oh, he posted it as a short all the way down
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. And then
Oh,
and then Alex bought it. That's what I'm saying. I didn't look at it because I wasn't interested in the short scalp, but I would have been
right,
interested in the 6,000% long for sure.
right.
Vegas says he did capture some RO. That's nice. Good. Well done.
All right. Anybody got any questions? I mean, this is really, this is kind of my plan. I'm gonna wait for Bitcoin to come back up before I look for a short position. Um, it would likely be around 68,500 is where I'll be looking.
This is my first call, and I just signed up on Friday, and I'm actually scheduled for onboarding at 11. So I thought I'll just join and kind of see this call, how this goes. It's good to see that this is pretty real.
Yeah.
You miss stuff too, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
While you're waiting, I am not super savvy with trading view. Last night I was watching one of your training videos and I was trying to determine how do you put in this green and red box in here?
Just over on the left-hand side of your tools, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. Click forecasting. There's just going to be a little arrow next to it. Forecasting and measurement. And you got your long and your short position tools.
Got it.
That's the same on Femex as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I think everything probably just mimicked what Bitcoin did. It just pulled back. Except ETH pumped a lot harder last night than Bitcoin did. That's for sure. I could see, oh, one cool thing too, guys, that I don't know if you guys know you can do this. Like, so this, if you're just solely trading trend line breaks, like I like to do, like this is a good trend line, right? It's a really good trend line. We got a lot of points of interest here. We take it from this low. This is BNB. Guys, most of you guys probably never traded BNB before. Um, widen it out a little bit. Take it from this low. Okay, low. Data, data, data. Good, strong trend line. What you can do on TradingView, Femex, doesn't matter. I like doing it on the 2 hour, but I can double click this trend line and go to shoot.
What are you trying to do?
You right click it, and then go to add alert on the trend line. You want to do price crossing trend line. And then I'm going to do once per bar close. All right. So I'll get alerted when a price bar breaks that trend line and closes on the break of it.
And you guys can get these as text messages to your phone. You need to
Mhm.
set up your telephone number. So for example, I have Verizon and there's an email address that's associated with every phone number. So in the settings of TradingView, you have to go in and add your phone number, email address. You get on Verizon, if Google it and Verizon it, and then it'll send you the text right to your phone. I got a text this morning.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Now,
I'll put the instructions
this,
in the help desk.
what's that?
I'll go ahead and put the instructions for that in the help desk. That should help everybody out.
Okay.
Because I get that question all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This, I mean, I really want to see price pull back. I really, really am not happy that I killed my limit order here. 'Cause this is gonna be a good trade. This is gonna go. I think this is really gonna go the distance. So I really need to see this thing pull back so I can get into it. And there's really two places. Either at 2.075 or 2.1. See price. I mean, we're coming into these lows right here. Hopefully that's where we'll pull back from. But I would really love to see price come down to these lows. All right. And as you know, I mean, SUI is very volatile. It really pulls back quite good if you haven't noticed it in the past. So seeing this come down to these lows, that's where we could likely see a pullback from, see it come back up. I would get a retest of this trend line and a retest of these supply zones, and I could look for shorts up here and carry this continuation down. Is there anything anyone wants me to look at or cover? I got a text message the other day that somebody got liquidated last night. We can beat that horse into the freaking ground until it's dead as well if you want. You should never be getting liquidated. You are over risking if you are getting liquidated. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that.
Hello, Chad.
Yep.
Yeah, just a quick question about TradingView. Can you actually make your orders from TradingView? Do you prefer that as opposed to the Femex platform?
You technically can integrate your Femex into your trading view. It's just a little clunky. So I
No,
just
but like,
chart.
what do you do? You just use that for charting?
Yeah. Yeah. I like charting on TradingView, and then I will pull up my Femex account and execute my orders on my Femex account directly.
Wow. Okay. Do you find that it's a little bit more difficult
No, no, I just gotta take
than
the
than
numbers
actually
from.
using? I see.
Yeah, so I
I
just
see.
basically I'll do one of two things. I'll either set my, like, let's say on this, for example, I want to set a long limit order on SOL, and I want to target 190 take profit. Okay. All right. I can run a little bit tighter of a stop loss, and I'm gonna double click this, and I'm gonna just go get my whole numbers. And so I'm gonna put my stop level at 153. I'm going to put my profit level at 190 flat, and I'm going to put my entry price at 160. Okay.
I
Now
see.
I can either just leave this screen up and either do it on my phone. I can go and input my I can go input my numbers on my phone and input my trade that way, or I can just pull it up on my actual my actual Femex account. One or the other.
I
Okay.
see. And you're
If
always, do you always get your numbers from your risk reward ratio?
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, man.
Yeah, for sure. Main reason I do that is because I want to make sure I believe in setting up your trade with a risk to reward ratio because number one, it ensures you actually have a trading plan. You're not just
Hmm.
getting into something and setting your stop loss after the fact. You really need to be setting your stop loss before you take your trade, because that's what's dictating how much you lose if you lose that trade. It's also going to dictate how much you'd make. Right. So if you're taking
Sure.
trades not knowing your risk to reward ratio, you don't have much of a trading plan. And so setting up my risk to reward ratio tool is step number one for me. Like if I see
Hmm.
a trade idea like this is actually a decent trade idea, honestly. We have a break of structure that is currently being retested, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, from there it's like, if I just get into this and I'm like, all right, so I'm putting 1,000 contracts on Sol, and I'm long 1,000 contracts on Sol long, and I'm not going in and taking the time to figure out, all right, where's a good place? Okay, great. How much am I going to lose if my stop loss gets hit? Well, all right, I'll lose less than 5% of my account balance. Okay, great. Boom. Versus what a lot of folks do, and if you're getting liquidated, this is what you're doing. You're just stacking in contracts and have no freaking idea what that
Hmm.
means at your stop loss. There's modules, there's several modules for this. One of them says do not skip setting contract size. And I know a lot of people skip that module. Like I said, we got a text message last night. I got liquidated on Bitcoin. Why? I don't know. I mean, this is step number
Yeah.
one, truly. You should not be taking trades not knowing how to set your contract size. And so I'm not harping on you for asking, I promise. I'm just very passionate about knowing where your stop loss goes. Very, very passionate about it. So that's
Sure.
that's the reason why the risk to reward tool is number one for me. Because even if you take a crappy trade, like even if you don't have the best technical analysis, you at the very least stood a shot trading 1 to 3 risk to reward with a thought out stop loss, knowing if my stop loss gets hit, I only lose X percentage of my account. You at least gave yourself a fighting battle. Whereas if you have bad technical analysis and no trade plan and no risk management and no risk to reward, you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell. So this is bread and butter for me.
Great tool. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, the main reason I look at Trading View is just because I think the chart setup on Femex is a little clunky. Like if I scroll my screen, if I go to scroll my chart like this on Trading View, it scrolls my chart. I'm using my scrolling mouse right now. Okay. But on Femex, if I do that, sometimes it will scroll the page up and down. And then I'll come over there. Like it just does weird, finicky things that annoys me. And TradingView doesn't do that. The reason why Femex does that is because there's things at the bottom. Like you have that order bar, that order flow, and you can move things around, and it gives it a place to scroll to on the overall size of the page. And I just find that to be annoying.
Do the
I like
prices
having the
map
basic
in
indicators
Femex?
on Femex, like the very basic ones that we use in the group. I almost always find myself going back and just using the very basic stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Luke asked if you set limit or condition. What did you say? Limit or limit conditional? I just do limit.
The limit conditionals haven't been, I've had lots of people come to me, their limit conditionals are not getting hit. I've had a couple people, I've asked them to reach out to support to see what's going on. I would just avoid limit conditionals. It's something to do with the trigger price and then a separate limit price. They're just not getting hit. So either limit or market conditional.
Hey, Chad, any particular coins you're looking at other than Bitcoin?
I've been
SUI.
trading SUI a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been hammering SUI. I'm not happy about, but I have been destroying SUI for the last week and a half or 2 weeks after Luke had showed it. I've been trading that a bit. We'll probably keep an eye on Ape now that it's pulling some volume.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't really like trading ETH because you get, for some reason, it seems like you get really crappy margin exposure on Femex. So I haven't really been trading ETH very much. I don't really love trading XRP that much because it's just so random. It's really hard to trade. It's just whipsaw action basically all the time. Just whips on. The only thing I mean, like this is the daily chart, man. There's no real trend.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
just
flat XRP.
yeah. I mean, we might be able to look for long positions off 46 cents that we could swing. But again, like even XRP doesn't have the greatest margin requirements. Um, it's not a great trader in my opinion. I don't look at a crazy amount of stuff, but what you can always go do, let me pull up my 1 second. You can always go to Femex and you can go to your USDT under contract, and it's going to show you the top trending 4 pairs. Right now, you got Doge trending at 0.5% of gain in the last 24 hours, when everything else is red. You got 1,000 SHIB USDT at negative 3.44%. And you got People USDT at negative 7%. And so you can go find, trending stuff whenever you want. Really got it. But what I would recommend doing, let me just show you an example of this, because this is actually, as you can see, this is People. I had set this trend line here. I had set this trend line before price was here. Right? Price was up here. And I was looking for the trend line to come back and retest this, but I didn't set an alert. Right? So I didn't end up taking this trade. But what I'm going to start doing on all, like if you're looking at stuff, the problem is there's so many of these cryptos. There's so many of them that you need to set up something that's going to tell you. You need to have a trade set up that you can get alerted on. And a trend line retest, a break and retest like this would be a great thing to do. Like this, I got this trend line. I should have, I don't know if I can set an alert on. I don't know if I can set an alert if it's on. No, I can't. So I would come back over to my trading view and I would add people USDT, linear perpetuals futures on FEMEX. All right. And what I should have done, I didn't do this, but should have drawn my trend line. Add my alert. And I would have gotten alerted when price was back here.
Mm.
And I didn't do that. Right. And you can do the same with potential shorts. So let's say I wanted to use this red trend line as a trigger to get me short in this on something a little like this. Oops. Now I'll get alerted when this trend line gets broken. Pepe, Jasmine, and Abex. Let's take a look. Take a look at Pepe. Oh, Pepe. Hold on, guys, real quick. I'm gonna text my I gotta order a hand delivered iced coffee. Oh, when I was a young guy, everyone talks about all the, oh, get a wife and this, get married, this or that, the other. And I didn't believe them how amazing it is to have an incredible woman in your life. But I'll tell you, it has been life changing. And now I get iced coffees whenever I want. All right, this looks like a Head and Shoulders to me. I mean, really got right shoulder, left shoulder, head. this would technically be your right shoulder, and one could argue that this was the reaction, which would indicate that, this head and shoulders is already played out. It's kind of janky price action, to be honest with you. So now we got to kind of look for something else. So now I'm really going to come in and try and just isolate price here. We obviously have a very strong trend line. This would be like an A plus trend line that we could run as a trigger if we wanted to look for shorts on this. Run that in, and we are about to test that trend line right now, actually. So for everybody who's new on this, whoever, I mean, really everybody in general, primarily because I haven't really talked in too much detail about trend lines, as they were less of a core component of my strategy over the last 6 months, and now I'm bringing it back to be the of my strategy. So you hear me talk about them a lot more now. But you have different types of trend lines, okay? And think of your trend lines on a ranking scale. And there's going to be a couple different components that lead to what you would consider to be a trend line you can trade, and a trend line you can pretty much, thank you, honey, and a trend line that you can, it's there, you can use it, but it's not going to be a strong confluence of something you're going to want to trade off of. Let me give you some examples of that. First and foremost, the higher the time frame, the stronger the trend line. Second, I love trading 4-hour trend lines. I found that those 4-hour trend lines are really, really awesome. If you guys have ever noticed, you might be on the 10-minute chart, the 15-minute chart, and you set up a bull flag, and it pops up out of that bull flag, and it goes up maybe something, a large impact in the market, and it usually doesn't. Right. So the higher the time frame, I really love drawing these 4-hour time frame trend lines. That's going to make them a lot stronger. Number two, you're going to be looking at the amount of price data and also the history. Okay, so this is an A plus plus trend line. Okay, the 4-hour time frame goes all the way back to September 5th of data. Right, that makes it a good trend line. We can trade this trend line. It is significant, and as you can see, we have a lot of data on it, a lot of price impacts. All right, trend price has respected this trend line in a very, very strong manner across multiple touch points. I can actually tighten this up just a hair as well. Okay, make it even stronger. Good trend line. All right. So what we can do one of two things. We can either use this trigger trend line to get a short into a market, or we can use this trigger if we end up deciding, hey, we need to go long, we can use this trigger trend line to protect our position and use it as a stop loss. All right. So we are coming into a very important apex on the 4-hour time frame. All right, we can actually tighten this up just a hair. And so whatever one of these guys, this style of trading is so much freaking easier than chasing 10-minute candles. I promise you. This is so stupid simple. Make the upper one green, make the one underneath it red. This one breaks and retests, you go long. This one breaks and retests, you go short. That's it. Like that's the whole strategy. Okay. So, and then you'd set up up your trade and protect your stop loss with your upper trend line. All right, because remember, this is going to extend out, and we can protect that trade with the delta right here between the two trend lines and our stop loss. Right. So that's that. That's all I would do in this instance on Pepe. You come.
I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen. Did you just measure the last candle?
No, I didn't measure anything.
Oh, how did you draw the height of that red line?
My stop loss.
Oh, okay. I see your risk reward ratio. Okay.
Yeah. So I just have my stop loss visually enough above this green trend line. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. And here's what I'm not gonna do, guys. Here's what I'm not gonna do. I am not going to try and catch a short at the top of this trend line before it breaks out. I'm not gonna try and catch a long at the bottom of this trend line before it breaks out. Right? To trade this basic trend line strategy, you are trading the retests of the breaks, which means if price does break out of my long trend line, let's say price comes up, breaks out, you're trading the entry on this retest. Okay, you're not taking longs up here. You're not chasing these breakouts. You're only trading the retests. If you do not follow that, if you are chasing these breakouts and you're getting long up here and you're on the 5-minute time frame and you got your stop loss right here and price comes back and retests, you get stopped out, I get my entry, I'm in profit, you're stopped out. That's the most important component of the strategy. You gotta wait for the entries. Stop chasing entries, stop chasing candles. It'd be so much better. And your trading gets more fun, right? It gets a lot less stressful. You can run a stop loss that makes sense. You can run a stop loss that you don't have to watch. Shit, price is almost I'm gonna lift my stop. No, trust me. If you trade this properly and price is near your stop loss, you do not want to be in the trade. All right. Brad asked, do you draw trend lines on the candles wicks? I just draw them. I mean, you can get trend lines on bodies of candles. The main thing you're going to want to be looking at is getting as much of the price data as you can. And so I'm grabbing 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So you really just, it's the line, trend lines are the line of best fit. Like this, you can see I have a wick here, and then here, this is an overextension. The trend line goes through it. And I do that intentionally because if I just go through here, then I get more data on my trend line. All right, I got this data, this data, this data, this data, this data, this data. Let's see. Lean asked, is the Apex strategy only applicable on 4-hour charts? Barry answered, that is correct, what Barry said. The higher the time frame with any indicator, any strategy, or any setup, the stronger the outcome is going to be. If you're trading a breakout on a 5-minute time frame, you're going to get a lot less of an impact.
Chad, could you say that one more time, please?
Yeah, the higher the time frame, the larger the impact. All right. So if you have a divergent double top on a daily chart, that can lead to strong impact. All right. If we go back to this is a really good example of it. Let's go to the weekly chart on Bitcoin. All right. This is the weekly time frame. What do we have? We have an extremely this is really the component here. If you had imagine this was the 5 minute time frame, right? You have a divergent double top on the 5 minute time frame. Price might move a couple $100 if it does anything at all. This is the weekly time frame. This is a divergent double top that led to an entire market correction that brought Bitcoin down to $15,000. Right? When you see stuff on the higher time frame, it has a much, much bigger impact. You start seeing double tops, double bottoms, cup and handles on the daily. Whoops, I didn't mean to stop sharing my screen. On the daily time frame and the weekly time frame, like that's a really significant deal. And so this is also very significant too. Like this trend line, we are in a very, very important price of Bitcoin right now. This trend line has been broken by a weekly candlestick. The question is this weekly candlestick retesting it? Because that's what it looks like to me. And we got 6 days on this candle just painted. Right? This candlestick's got 6 days left on it. But this is the first time we've had a full body weekly candlestick break above this trend line. And if you run this, you could run this even tighter, honestly. Like if you wanted to, you could easily argue that we have broken out of this trend line and we are retesting it right now. And that would be a little bit different if we're trading it off of the daily chart. If you're trading it off the daily chart, we didn't have that strong of a break. Personally, I'm going to trade it off the daily. I'm going to trade this trend line off the daily time frame, primarily because I don't want to get faked out.
Quick question, Chad. When you're doing your analysis, say on the 4 hour time frame or on the daily, um, do you get your trade ideas from that and then go to a lower time frame and then execute the trade?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm basically, the daily time frame is for me looking at it like this. The main thing I'm looking at here is on the daily time frame. Long term, like if we're looking 8 months from now, price will not be at 67K and it won't be below it. It's going to be higher. Right? On the daily time frame, I'm looking at this as a cup and handle. Okay, so like long term, and when I say long term, I mean like 6 to 7 months from now, I have a very, very bullish outlook on crypto, and Bitcoin specifically. Okay. Now, that does not mean I want to go long right here and potentially hold drawdown all the way down to 60K. Right. So then now I want to come into my lower time frame and see what's happening. And I like the 4 hour and the 3 hour. I think it gives good price data. Okay, and I can see we broke this trend line here. We're obviously pulling back. But right underneath it, we have this trend line right here, this red one. Make it larger, make it green. Right. I really don't want to be going long up here. I would much prefer to have price come down before I look for longs. I'd much prefer to have it either come back down to this trend line or potentially this trend line before I really want to start looking for long positions. All right. So I'm using that lower time frame to help me find better entries
I see.
on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Now, the thing is that it is a double-edged sword because again, that doesn't mean that the lower the time frame, the better entry, right? If I'm looking at structure, on the 4 hour, 3 hour, et cetera, that doesn't necessarily mean I should be coming into the 5 minute time frame and trying to trade it as such. But here you have on the 5 minute time frame, like if you were a scalper, you would be paying attention right now, right? If you were trying to scalp this, you would probably see that we have a change of character playing out. A change of character is just shifting market movement, right? So here we have a high and we have a low. We have I'm sorry. We have a high and a low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, lower high, lower low, etc. We're in a downtrend. Okay. Now we have what we would consider a shift of character because this is a low, this is a higher low, right? We have this V-like recovery.
Yeah.
Right here. This would what you'd consider a V-like recovery, right? This would be a place for a scalper to get long and target probably right there. That would give somebody, let's do a quick little position on this.
Do you also use RSI to make that entry point?
On the higher time frame, I don't really look
Okay.
at RSI on the lower time frame. It doesn't have much weight.
On the higher time frame, though. Yeah.
On the higher time frame, it does. On the lower time frame, RSI doesn't really play out that well. It's not very significant.
Chad, if you don't mind, can you please touch a little bit on your risk and reward piece again when you get a second?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super, super simple. It is just a process, a mechanism that you can include in your trading to help you become a profitable trader. And here's why. If I only take 1 to 3 risk to reward ratios, that's it. If my trade cannot reach 1 to 3, I won't take the trade. Okay. So what that means is I have to only win more than 20% of my trades. I can lose almost 80% of my and still be profitable. Won't be by much, right? But if you're taking 1 to 1 risk to reward trades, you have to at least have a 70% win rate.
Yeah.
Right. So I just use my RR risk to reward as a filter to take good trades. I am a little bit different, I'm a little bit different. You're going to see a lot more trades from Nico than you will me. I prefer to make less decisions, take less trades, and just try to milk my winners to make up for the trades I don't take. And yeah, I do that with risk to reward ratios.
And then you're keeping your risk. What is your ideal that you generally go after, Risha?
Can you rephrase that question?
It mentioned here that, hey, 1 to 3 is kind of where you know that, 20% of your upside will actually cover 80% of your losses in this case, if you were to go in red. So when in the charts, as you're putting in this green and red, what is your ideal risk to reward that you're looking for?
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes, this was a good example of it. Oftentimes this is what we call reaching a trade out. And so, God, I'm still kicking myself for deleting this limit. Cannot freaking believe I did that. So for example here, let's say we set this trade up and we target previous lows, right? That's a 1 to 4.5 risk to reward on that trade. But we can let that trade reach out because we have a major break of structure.
Yeah.
Right. So I can reach this trade out to potentially 1.9, which would give me a 1 to 6. I could even reach this trade out to 1.7, which give me a 1 to 9. And if we really pull back and correct all the way down to our first major break of structure, you could potentially reach this trade out to almost 1 to 20. Right. So this is really just trade management. So your risk to reward won't always be linear
Yeah.
in fashion. But I at least at the very minimum need to see 1 to 3 at my first. And you can't be unrealistic either, guys. You can't be like, all right, I'm taking this trade. Well, the first place I would take profit is only 1.7, but I'm just gonna go and the setup at, like, let's say this wasn't here on the higher time frame, right? And you're just trading on the 5-minute time frame and you got a bull flag on the 5-minute chart and you think that 5-minute bull flag is going to pump Bitcoin to 80K and you're going to reach that out. Like, that's just unrealistic. It has to be your RR, your take profits have to be realistic to the time frame you're trading, you're conducting your analysis on.
This is super helpful. Thank you.
You bet.
And what do you generally, how much are you putting at risk up there?
At my stop loss?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be indicative of your trading account balance. So this limit that I had here at 1.75, I had almost $1,000 at risk on my stop loss. Now, you might not be trading with the same amount of capital stack that I'm trading with.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, that was a nice try. Oh man,
Well, I have a fun story for you. The first I've watched you guys this weekly thing for I don't know 4 times now.
Yeah.
And after the first time I did, I jumped into Phoenix and I transferred money from my Robinhood wallet to there. And I'm like, okay, I'm waiting, I'll sign up. And I couldn't catch what the process was. But I watched Nico do what he was doing. Oh, I can try this too. So I tried. So I actually lost exactly the same amount in Phoenix as I would have paid the fee with. And so now I have actually paid the fee. So I've paid double. Now, and I was like, this morning I transferred. I'm like, okay, I'll get my wallet set up. So I shifted money from my account into the Robinhood wallet. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start with $5,000. Let's just start with that and see what that looks like. So I'm now sitting on that and I'm not moving. I'm not making any moves until I learn this because I've made so many stupid trades. And I think I just from this first call, I'm learning. I was just talking about the patience that there's no absolute reason for you to be jumping in here. Just what that long looks like. So if you just strategically plan for it and you have a good, I'm literally put it in there hoping for that $80,000 out. And okay, it's fine. Now I come back and there's nothing left there. It's like I didn't really set my safe at all, or a limit in any way where it was going to be safe for me. So it's crazy that I went from all the money I put in there before down to like 70 cents. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens, man. It happens. And I'll be completely honest and transparent with you. That happens to people in this group as well. They just completely skip the years of things we've put together for them to learn the right way. They just get right in. They don't manage their stop loss. They don't set their contract size. And they might be trading with $5,000 and they're risking $1,500 at the stop loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have no idea why or what. And they're like, I got liquidated. It's like, did you set your contract size in congruence with risk management? I don't know what risk management is. Why'd you skip the entire program? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah, if you look at my Robinhood account, you probably hold your head. You say, "What the heck is wrong with you, Arun?" I have a very hard time getting out. I just stay there and I stay there, and I literally, and then I pull out at a very wrong time. I've forecasted, told everybody, "Oh, let's keep your money in MicroStrategy," for example. Both time when it went up, right, I pretty much had $1 million upside that I left on the table because I just was being smart. Oh, I'm going to pull it out, maybe go in Tesla for a couple of days. It was terrible.
Yep. 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 Barry asked, what do you do to determine appropriate levels for scaling in contracts in and out of positions? How do you decide to allocate equity between scaled entries? It's a good question. Scaling in entries is definitely an advanced concept. There's no doubt about that. Because if you do it wrong, you can just completely ruin your trade. And so scaling in positions is arguably takes more patience than taking entries. Because again, if you don't scale your entry or your contracts in at the right time, you can really screw yourself over and turn a good trade into a bad one. So I'll give you some examples of that. Let's say I wasn't an idiot last night and I didn't close my limit order. Let's just envision a world where that didn't happen. So I feel a little bit better about myself today. Let's say that didn't happen. Well, where I'm in profit, right? My limit order got hit, 0 drawdown, straight into profit. Okay. We had a break of structure of this trend line. Okay. That trend line was broke to the downside. Right. Now, price is starting to come back up, and I want to see it retest this. Right. I want to see price come up and potentially extend up into this supply zone. Okay, so where would I scale in my contracts? I would scale in my contracts after price continues in my direction. If price comes up, scales in my contracts, gets rejected, we start to pull back down. We failed to put in a new high, indicating the further downside, indicating the trade is continuing to move in my favor. I would be looking to scale in contracts at that key level on the way down. On the way down, not on the way up. Not on the way up, on the way down, into my favor. Very, 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 very important. Now, the next component to that question is, how do you associate equity to it? Well, to be honest with you, I don't have a calculated way to know. So basically, guys, when you scale in contracts, let's say this let me change this color here. Let's make it blue. Let's say this blue mark right here is my entry price. And let's say I'm short with 10,000 contracts. Okay. And let's say price is moving in my favor, moving in my favor, comes back, pulls back. I'm at a good place to adding contracts. And let's say I add another 5,000 contracts. I'm not opening a new trade. It's super important. You're not opening a new trade. You're adding contracts to your current trade. And what that does is it just moves your entry price down. That's it. That's all it does. Okay. And so what I recommend doing is scaling contracts slowly, because I personally don't have, and I think every coin is going to be a little different too. So let's say you scale 50% of your contracts that get scaled into SUI versus Bitcoin, the amount that new entry price changes per coin can be different. Okay, so let's say I'm looking to scale in contracts. Let's say I'm trading short 10,000 contracts. Start with 1,500. Add 1,500 new contracts. Okay, if this is my entry price, I'm going to add in 1,500, and okay, it brought my entry price down that far, but I still got a lot of room. All right, I'm going to throw in another 2,000 contracts. Okay, now my entry price is right here and it's above structure, right? And so if you scale in contracts slowly to see the impact it's going to have on your entry price, and do it little by little by little until you get your entry price to a place that it's still protected. Right. So you really only want to scale those contracts in that form and fashion when you're in profit.
Where would your stop loss be?
Above your entry price. Above or at break even if it makes sense to. So let's say for this example, all right, let's say I was in this trade and I wanted to scale in contracts on the continuation right here. I would likely get my entry price. I would likely get my entry price like right here and my stop loss right there at break even, basically. That's what I would do. Right above this structure. So it would bring my entry down this much. Yellow would be my original entry, purple would be my new entry scaled in contract price, and then red line would be my stop loss price. And also, when you share your gains card, that's going to change too. Right? If you're up here and you're 400% in profit, or you have a 400% gain, and now your entry price is down here, it might only show 160% gain. That's going to change too. So keep that in mind.
Hey, Chad, it's Josh. I didn't have a chance to jump in while you were talking. I was busy. But I do. I put one in the chat the other day where it looks like it could break out. Like if people were interested and you wanted to take a look, it's MANTAUSDT.
MAN.
TA. Like it's getting close to where it's going to break out. Like the other one did just the other day. I was in on that one too and put it in the chat to look at, and then I missed that giant breakout.
And dude got
Sounds like
6,000%.
Yeah. Like I put that in a couple of weeks before saying, hey, look at it, keep an eye on it. And then I let it go. I went in early. Like I was like, I think this is when it's going to go. And then I moved my stop loss too close. And then like right after that is when it just shot through the roof. I was like, ah.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. 1 second.
How do you guys find these coins?
Are you just scrolling down, looking through the percentages and seeing what's doing
Yeah.
what?
Just scrolling down, looking through the percentages, and Manhurst at one point was just completely flat for the day. I'm like, what's this? What's going on here? I just went in, checked it. It's been falling down. It's been falling down. Right now, it's like headed in a uptrend, and on the daily, the RSI is at the bottom. Well, now it's kind of at the top and coming around, but it's going to pop like the other one did pretty soon. I was thinking it was going to do it last night,
You're
but it
saying
didn't.
Mana USDT?
No, I think you
Yeah.
said Manta. Mana with
M
an
MAN MANTA
Manta.
USDT. Yeah, Manta.
Manta.
Mana's Decentraland, and that one's on sale too.
But like it was been falling for a while. It's fairly new coin, but if you take the trend line on the daily chart and run it from the top all the way down, it hasn't broken that yet, but it's right at the edge and headed up towards it.
Saying a further.
Yeah, go all the way up to the top and check that out on probably you'll see definitely on the daily chart you can see it. It looks different on yours than it does on mine.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
I'll put a screenshot of it in the main chat since it's easier for me to do than like because I'm on the phone with the
I would, yeah, I'm having a hard time finding your trend
I'll,
line.
I'll put it. I'll put it in the main Discord
Uh,
chat real quick.
Okay, sounds good. Might be something like this,
Yeah, something like
which
that. That's
is
exactly, I think, what I have.
something like this, which you could trade that. Yeah, that would technically be you're technically breaking and retesting it right now. And this is an easy trade too, because you have your trend line. This is a good trend line right here, and you're close to it.
Yeah, it is. It's headed up. RSI stuff I was looking at, it just didn't like it almost broke through last night. I was long on it early. It started to break through it, but it never actually went out. I mean, I had my stop loss and it came back down. I was just waiting for it to really pop, but it wasn't the time. Like my first guess is it might go up to like 1.337 too. It would be like the first spot if it pops up.
Yeah. Got a lot of this is a big supply zone right here too. I'll take it. I'll put a little bit on it. I like it because a trade like this, you don't have much to lose because you can trade off this trend line too. You can use this trend line right here to protect your position. And we're basically right at that trend line right now, which so this I would get my you could actually make a market entry on this right now if you wanted to. I would get my stop at like 67.675. Or actually let's go 68 cents on the stop. Oh wait, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Let's go 67 cents on the stop. 67 cents. 1 second, guys. I'm gonna make a market entry on this right now. And I'll come back to it. This is Manta USDT. Go long 0.67.
You're putting that in the chat.
I will, yeah. I'm gonna make my own entry first.
What are you going to use as a take profit?
I'm gonna leave it open. If you wanted to put a take profit on it, you could run it to.
I know you pointed out that supply zone.
Yeah, I would target that supply zone. That'd be 2.2 to play it safe. All right, I'm in. I'm in.
This has to be traded on their USDT account, right? Not on the Bitcoin futures. How do you open an account for that?
You automatically have it. You just have to put some USDT in it.
Okay.
Is that you just convert it?
You can. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like having, I mean, I like having both personally.
Because I have yet to trade it with anything